Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're looking at a company called Cellebrite,
Okay.
ticker symbol CLBT.
Interesting.
They're making a splash in the digital investigation solutions market.
Yeah, their stock is definitely on the move.
It's near that 52-week high,
Which is
$24.62.
And there's a good reason for all this excitement.
It really seems like they're not just riding a wave, they're actually,
Shaping it.
and they're consistently blowing past earnings expectations.
Right. They're setting ambitious growth targets and expanding their presence, particularly in the U.S. public sector.
And Wall Street's definitely taking notice.
Absolutely.
So let's break down those earnings reports.
Okay.
We're seeing those positive surprises.
Yeah, the past 3 quarters have been really something.
Q1 2024. Earnings per share were 8 cents.
Beating the estimate of 5 cents.
Yeah, and then Q2
They hit 10 cents EPS.
compared to the estimated 5.
And then Q3,
Jump in.
14 cents EPS.
Versus the projected 9.
That's impressive.
It really is.
These numbers are a clear indicator
Of what?
of Cellebrite's financial health and performance.
So it's not just about meeting expectations.
No, they're exceeding them consistently.
And that has to be a good sign for investors.
It signals strong management, effective execution, and ability to really capitalize on opportunities.
They're knocking it out of the park. But what about their long-term vision? What about those plans for future growth?
Well, they're not just celebrating past wins.
So no resting on their laurels.
Definitely not. By 2028, they're projecting a 24%
Wow.
compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, annual recurring revenue, also known as ARR. And for total revenues, they're aiming for a 20% CAGR.
Ambitious.
Very ambitious, but their recent performance suggests
I might just pull it off.
they've got a solid plan in place.
So let's translate these figures. What do they mean in the real world? What kind of picture do these growth targets paint for Cellebrite's future?
Basically, they're signaling that Cellebrite is anticipating significant growth over the next few years.
And if they hit those targets,
they'll capture an even larger share of the digital investigation market, solidify their position as a leader in the industry.
So it's about confidence.
Confidence in expanding their customer base.
Maybe moving into new markets.
And continuing to develop cutting-edge products and services.
Now, all of this is happening against a larger industry trend.
Absolutely. The backdrop is crucial here.
So what's driving the demand for these digital investigation solutions?
We're seeing a global surge in demand for these solutions.
Particularly from
governments and law enforcement.
Makes sense as our lives become more digital.
Yeah.
The need for sophisticated tools to investigate.
Cybercrime and other digital offenses becomes even more important.
And Cellebrite.
They're well positioned. Their focus is on legally sanctioned investigations.
Which means
they're in a prime spot to benefit from this expanding market.
So they're riding a powerful wave. But let's talk about the analysts.
Sure.
Despite Cellebrite's stock price surge, they've kept a strong buy rating. The average price target is $20.38.
Seems a little counterintuitive.
It does. Why that difference between the current price and the analyst target?
Well, analysts consider many factors when they set those targets. While they acknowledge the long-term potential, they're factoring in potential short-term corrections. The stock has climbed rapidly.
So some analysts are thinking
it might be slightly overvalued.
At the moment.
It doesn't necessarily mean a negative outlook. They might anticipate a pullback, further price appreciation.
So a possibility of a short-term dip?
Yes.
But a positive long-term outlook.
Exactly. It's all about balancing short-term volatility against long-term potential.
That makes sense. It's all about finding that balance. So let's dig into the technical stuff.
Right.
What can those charts tell us about Cellebrite's movement? Future trends.
Oh, okay. Well, looking at the indicators, we see the 50-day simple moving average.
Okay.
It's at $21.64. And the 200-day simple moving average, that one's at $16.18.
I know a lot of our listeners are familiar with these terms, but for those who aren't, could you break down what those SMAs really tell us about a stock?
Absolutely. So SMAs, those are basically lines on a chart.
Yep.
They represent the average price of a specific period of time.
So like the 50-day?
That averages the closing prices over 50 days.
And the 200-day?
same idea, but over 200 days.
Right.
Traders use these SMAs to spot trends, potential buy-or-sell signals.
So in this case, Cellebrite is trading above both of those SMAs.
That's right.
Which suggests an upward trend.
Exactly, confirming that momentum we were talking about.
What other indicators are we looking at?
Well, there's the 14-day Relative Strength Index.
The RSI.
Yeah, that's currently at 67.31.
And to refresh our listeners' memories,
Sure.
What's that RSI telling us?
Okay, so the RSI, that's a momentum indicator.
It's measuring.
It measures how big recent price changes have been.
To figure out
if a stock is overbought or oversold.
So for Cellebrite.
67.31 suggests it's getting close to overbought.
Interesting.
But it's not quite there yet.
So some room to run, but maybe proceed with caution?
That's one way to interpret it.
Of course, we have to consider.
You always consider the RSI with other indicators and the bigger market picture.
Right. Speaking of the market picture, what about the Fear and Greed Index?
Yes, that's sitting at 39 right now. So that puts it in the fear category.
And what does that tell us?
Well, the Fear and Greed Index, that's all about trying to understand investor emotions.
Emotions.
The theory is that too much fear can lead to undervalued assets.
And too much greed.
Leads to overvalued ones.
So 39.
Suggests caution among investors.
Which could mean
it might be a good buying opportunity.
If you believe.
For those who believe in Cellebrite's long-term potential.
But fear isn't always a bad thing.
Right. It can be a rational response. Market uncertainty or some bad news.
So don't jump in blindly just because there's fear.
Never a good idea.
We also have to look at volatility.
Yep.
That's at 4.29%.
No.
We've got a 50-50 split between green days and red days over the past month.
So how do those factors play into all of this?
Well, volatility, that measures the price fluctuations.
Right. How much the price swings up and down.
So Cellebrite's at 4.29%.
Which is
relatively moderate.
It means the stock can move, but it's not doing anything too crazy.
And the even split between green and red days.
That just means the stock's had a mix of ups and downs.
Over the last 30 days. So we've got this interesting combination of positive signs and some things to watch out for.
Definitely a lot to consider.
What does it all mean for someone who's thinking about investing in Cellebrite? CLBT. Buy, sell, or hold?
That is the big question, isn't it?
That is.
Well, based on everything we've talked about, I'd lean towards hold.
Oh.
The indicators are showing good momentum, but it is nearing overbought territory. And the current price is higher than the average analyst target. It could pull back a bit in the short term.
So for people who already have Cellebrite stock?
Maybe wait and see what happens.
Makes sense. But what about new investors?
For them, I'd say it might be smart to wait for a dip.
Before Cellebrite's long-term prospects look good.
They really do.
But timing is everything.
Absolutely. Getting in at a good price could mean bigger returns.
And less risk?
Exactly.
That's some great advice. Always good to remember that patience.
It can be key.
All right, so we've covered a ton today.
Yeah, earnings reports.
Growth projections, technical analysis.
Market sentiment.
We've really taken a close look at Cellebrite.
And their role in that digital investigation space.
It's been fascinating to see how they're performing.
It has. It's been great sharing these insights with you and your listeners.
Really appreciate it. Before we wrap up, let's recap the key takeaways for everyone listening.
Okay, so the big things to remember about Cellebrite.
Man.
That impressive financial performance, their ambitious growth strategy.
Right.
And those industry trends that are working in their favor.
So consistently beating earnings estimates.
Setting those aggressive targets.
Operating in a market with growing demand.
That's right. But we also can't forget the risks. The chance of short-term price corrections.
Right.
And the fact that the stock is currently trading above that average analyst target.
So, as always, a balanced perspective is important.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to be excited about when it comes to Cellebrite.
For sure.
But just like any investment,
you've got to weigh both the potential rewards and the risks.
Carefully.
Couldn't agree more. Informed decision-making is so crucial.
Well said. So to everyone listening,
thank
you for joining us on Investing Talk Podcast. We hope this look at Cellebrite,
ticker symbol CLBT,
has been helpful and informative.
It's been my pleasure.
And as always, remember, this is just one piece of the puzzle when you're making those investment decisions.
Do your own research.
Think about your risk tolerance.
And if you need to talk to a financial advisor.
Great advice. A well-informed investor is a successful investor.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Share this episode with your fellow investors and leave a comment with your thoughts on Cellebrite. We love hearing from you. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.